You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek.
Altered Geek. Get altered. Geek. Altered Geek. From Star Wars to Star Trek, comics to tech. Altered Geek. Get altered. Geek. Altered Geek. Pull up a chair 'cause you're an altered geek.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek, the show where pop culture and living in the modern era collide and no topic is considered off limits. If it's something you're interested in, then you're a geek too. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and in this episode, I'll be talking about some random geekery that's been out on the internet between some internet history, some movie news, and some interesting tech that's out there. So kind of first up is the bit about WordPress. Since it's 14 years old today, it was kind of brought to my attention some things that WordPress did and did not do. Also, it is older than Twitter and Facebook, and it looks ridiculous. I don't know if anybody remembers LiveJournal, but it looks almost in that capacity. Since the first version was released on May 27th, 2003, which I'd never even heard of it until 2008. Maybe I'd heard about it a little bit sooner than that, but I'm not entirely sure. I didn't really get into it until I started building in it. Apparently, the name WordPress was suggested to a friend of the co-founder. WordPress powers nearly 27% of all internet websites, which is kind of staggering. It's not surprising, but it's kind of staggering that much of the internet is powered by it. And then it shows by like a scale from W3 surveys that Joomla is right behind it at 3.3, Drupal at 2.2, and then a bunch of other ones are kind of hiding below it. But it dominates 76.4 of the CMS market share, which, again, surprising. But it is a pretty easy to use, open source, and free resource. It's not owned by any company. Doesn't have a CEO. It powers a lot of multi-billion-dollar companies. A lot of news organizations, too, because it's just simpler to deal with, especially with its 1.48 billion plugins downloads. That's insane. Apparently, the governments all over the world use it as well, including schools and small towns, education. There's more than 50,000 free plugins that are on the WordPress.org. It's available in many languages, countries. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I've been using it since 2008, and honestly haven't looked back. It's a lot easier to deal with than having to custom build everything. It's quite perhaps made it a lot easier for me to automate a lot of stuff that I used to do by hand. And it took a lot of time out of me having to mess with a lot of it, between like the RSS feeds, between the having to place things in a certain way, how to get certain menus to work. It just took out a lot of the middle management part of it that I used to have to do, including posting other people's content, which was one thing that I never liked having to do. And I'm sure there were easier ways of doing it. I just never wanted to try and figure it out how to code it just because it was too difficult for me. And the time consuming. So yeah, it's crazy. It's been around for 14 years. I mean, I guess I should have kind of realized that in a sense because I've been using it since 2008, but yeah, that's wild. I remember using a lot of stuff that tied into like vBulletin or PHP bulletin board There were a couple of different, like MK Portal I used to use, which only made it to like version 1.1, and then it went defunct. But yeah, those were the days. I don't know if anybody remembers GeoCities or building with AngelFire, GeoCities, Homestead. I used to build a lot of sites and all those different free platforms before I could actually have a credit card to buy my own web space, which back then wasn't diddly squat. I mean, you were lucky if you got hosting with 15 to 150 megabytes, and now they've got terabytes of content or gigabytes of content that you can pay for. It's wild how much technology's changed. So last week I talked about the digital tombstones, which I thought were a bit creepy. But I came across an image of somebody with like their hand extended and a cell phone kind of spider webbing itself, attaching at the wrist and the hand while the hand's grasping it, which I find to be a bit interesting because of the fact that we've become such a society that we're tied to these devices, that if we don't have them near our hands at all times, we feel a sense of lost, or like part of our body is missing, which has caused me to want to detox to some degree from technology. It's kind of really odd that we've gotten so tied to these. I mean, I remember back in the day that we just didn't have this stuff, and then now it's hard to fathom living without technology, the internet, computers, just all these things that even 20 years ago weren't a big deal. I mean, they had cell phones, they had pagers. I mean, that's a bit dated information, but I mean, you've got the power of your computer in your hand, and it's a bit crazy. I mean, that is today's world. I mean, it's a tool, but still, it's one of those things that we just anymore can't live without. I mean, you can check your weather, you've got your map, you've got, you can check your email, you can do business on the go. I mean, it's useful. It's very much a utility anymore. And it's still a necessity, just like the internet. Just like, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as like water or food, but it's right up there with the electrical. I mean, that's very spot on. So I think I'm going to get into some fun tech that I came across, and there's been a design on a website. Not sure. I think it was a Kickstarter. Yeah, it's Kickstarter. Marty McFly's self-drying jacket from Back to the Future 2. And I kind of randomly came across this. I knew they were making like the Air Nikes that are supposed to like self-lace, which were interesting, but it was a limited thing. Apparently, I mean, because they've tried to do the hoverboard and various aspects of Back to the Future 2, which, don't get me wrong, is really neat, but so they made this jacket look almost like the one Marty's wearing in Back to the Future 2. However, the sleeves don't do that weird extendable thing. It's designed to look like it, but it still looks off. There's the textures aren't there, the arm pieces aren't. It looks like a cheap version of the other from the movie. But apparently it's got wearable tech in it, besides the fact that it's a self-drying jacket. This new jacket also has adjustable heating and cooling that can give your body temperature what you want. It also has a built-in USB port to charge your phone. So it's apparently got 21 days to go left on this. It's got 92 backers with $20,672 pledged of the $25,000 goal. This is the second version, it looks like. It's upgraded now with heating mode, cooling mode, mobile charging, hidden tablet, and smartphone pockets. I wasn't even aware there was a first edition of this thing, but it's still a kind of a interesting concept. I was looking at the video, and it's got a 6,000 mAh battery with USB charging, stylus pen pocket, retro style power buttons. The retro style power buttons are at the bottom by the zipper. One of them activates the heating pads, the two in the front, one in the back. There's also exhaust vents and air amplifiers, which it will blow up the jacket. Basically, almost like a flotation device or a life jacket. It almost blows it up like that to thicken it up. And I watched the video of it. It's still pretty wild, but I don't know if I would actually want to own this thing. It still seems a bit ridiculous. Not Back to the Future-ish all the way, but it does seem like it's trying very hard to be. I don't know. I'll have to link this because it's quite interesting, to say the least. And they've got a couple different colors. They've got this charcoal black, a special edition, which is supposed to look like the Marty McFly one, and a metallic silver. But yeah, it looks like the full on special edition looks to be $199. And the other ones are like $189, and then there's like a $20 discount if you're an early bird price, like you're getting it while it's pledged. And you can get the jackets with no tech in them too, but yeah, it's interesting. So, and then it's even got sizing to show you how big of a smartphone tablet will fit into the pockets as well, with the synthetic jacket. I'll have to check back on this and see how it turns out when it's all done. I personally don't get into a lot of these Kickstarters because, one, I don't have the money to go throwing away into these things. And while I have the nostalgia for the film, I don't particularly need another jacket that does all of this. I've got one for every bit of weather living in Michigan, so there's that. So Microsoft is apparently going to offer DNA storage in the cloud by the year 2020, which, again, is almost disturbing. It kind of reminds me of like the microchip thing in the hand that I talked about a few weeks back, and the digital tombstone. I wonder why. That's kind of where I'm at with this. I don't exactly understand the reasoning behind this, and I'm kind of wondering what you guys would think about it in the comments, because they're saying briefly, and this is on Global Futurist, they're mentioning this, but it says why it matters is with the amount of information on the planet exploding and traditional storage technologies reaching their theoretical limits, we need a new way to store the torrents of data society is creating, and DNA storage looks increasingly like it's the answer. Microsoft announced that they're managing to break the world record and store 200 MB of movies and documents on strands of DNA. And it says that they're going to offer the DNA storage as a service as part of their Azure cloud offering, which is apparently the world's largest supercomputer. Or they're attempting to turn Azure into the world's largest supercomputer. Building the first quantum computer almost sounds very Star Trek-y in that element. But yeah, it's apparently Microsoft's ambition is to do away with all of their tape archiving systems, which account for hundreds of petabytes of archive data storage and take up huge amounts of warehouse-sized floor space. So it makes sense. And it seems like they're using this as an effort to beat out Samsung, Seagate, and Western Digital to shrink computer storage and increase its density. because they're hitting physical limits, but the DNA, on the other hand, can store data at incredible densities because it's saying that it's got the ability to store over 1,000 petabytes or, a billion gigabytes per cubic millimeter, which is insane storage space. So they're saying that it would let us store all the world's movies in a storage device no bigger than a sugar cube, and we could store all the world's information in a shoebox. And that's today, where scientists are only working with DNA that has four bases. But they're talking about doing 6 bases, nucleotide-based DNA, where they're saying that they could store all of the world's information on a device no larger than a grain of sand. That's nuts. That's almost like Star Trek level technology here. But they're saying the main issue with the DNA storage is the cost. So they're wondering if a Columbia University professor wonders if Microsoft actually solved this problem or not. But they're saying that they're thinking that it's going to transfer data. Now get this. This is really the kicker here. They're saying that they estimate the rate of moving data into the DNA was only 400 bytes per second, which, if it's to become practical, they're stating needs to be at least 100 megabytes per second. That would take forever to move. That's crazy. What are you guys' thoughts on that? On them doing like a DNA digital storage? Like, I almost thought that they were going to do something freaky, like they were going to try and archive people's DNA digitally, which I wouldn't put it past scientists or the world to try. But again, there would be no point in it. But if they're doing this to kind of create a very Star Trek computer storage system, like what they've got on there's, I can't remember the name of it, but they have a specific name for it on Star Trek, I think First Contact, they say. I'm trying to think. I know that they used like the Elkers. I'm trying to think of there's a specific name that they gave it for their computerized systems on Star Trek. I don't know. I'm sure I'll find it after I finish recording the episode, but it's like supposed to be like this liquid kind of system where it pulls in all the information, and it's kind of like in a fluid memory system. So this kind of is very much on that same frame of mind, as it were. So, on some slightly bad news, there was a Comic-Con a couple days ago, like a week ago, somewhere in that range anyway. And it was in Phoenix Comic-Con. And they had a particular individual that was armed. And he was arrested after he entered and threatened to kill officers in Jason David Frank, oddly enough. What would possess this person to be nuts? But I guess he referred to himself as the Punisher. And he was going to have a showdown with cops and kill them. And yeah, he had 45 caliber handguns, combat knife, pepper spray, throwing stars, shotgun. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 45 caliber handguns, body armor under his clothes. Yeah, he had a calendar reminder on his smartphone saying that he was going to kill Jason David Frank. And he was referring to himself as the Punisher, which, what is wrong with people? It just makes me wonder what is going through people's minds to where they can't differentiate between reality and fiction. Like, I always thought it would be cool to be like Batman or Captain Kirk or something when I was younger, but there's this realization that when you get older, you're not actually this fictitious character. Yes, it would be cool to have the costume or something, but like I don't know what goes through somebody's mind to be that mentally unstable to where they want to harm another person, let alone go to a Comic-Con. And how this dude made it to the second floor of a Comic-Con and managed to bypass security to get to that level, and then only to have his friend actually turn him in for being a dirtbag. Like, I don't know. I can't fathom how this like happened in the first place. Like, it's ridiculous. But yeah, people today, man, this world is so screwed. So, kind of getting into some movie stuff, they're ramping up heavily on Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Heavily, like they're showing off pictures of Rey and Luke. They're showing off pictures of Rey. They're saying Rey's that's officially her lightsaber now, not Anakin's. They've changed the name of it, even in marketing of Lucasfilm. It's totally not Anakin anymore, and it's totally Rey all the way. So yeah, and they're teasing like everybody's new weapons and everybody's new gear and ships and everything else, and Finn's gonna have a almost Han Solo blaster type of thing, which they've teased. Lego sets are revealing some new resistance bombers, First Order destroyer, First Order assault walker, various things like that. Then it says Lucasfilm has no plans for episodes had no plans for episode 8 and 9 after The Force Awakens. It was just something that happened when they noticed that it was going to work. So, and then apparently there's going to be another Star Wars spinoff, which will be decided sometime in the next several days to a month. It's going to be in June anyway. So, yeah, I think that's... I'm wondering if it's going to be the Obi-Wan Kenobi prequel, like before A New Hope, somewhere between 3 and A New Hope, because I think that would be the ideal. I think that's really the only prequel that I would actually care about. Like, Rogue One was good, but it was ultimately a throwaway because none of the characters lived, and it was... Yeah. I mean, the best part of it to me was Vader at the end. Like, that was, to me, like, the icing on top. I mean, it was neat knowing the stuff of the Death Star, but it didn't matter to me. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped for that. And then there's some other stuff floating around, such as like the original Star Wars Revenge of the Sith ending had Padme founding the Rebel Alliance and almost killing Anakin, which probably would have been better than that crap ending that we got. I can't wait for the new movie of Star Wars. I'm gonna go see that in theater, but it's a bit insane and overwhelming to think about. All the crazy stuff. Plus, I'm looking at seeing Luke in action again, which I cannot wait. So I will be getting to the Justice League details in a future episode when I have Michael Powers on, hopefully. If not, I'll probably cover it in one of the next 2 to 3 episodes. I'm just waiting for more stuff to drop on it before I really... I want to have more to talk about when I actually dive into it than just saying, hey, Zack Snyder steps down from the Justice League movie due to tragedy and Joss Whedon's finishing. Like, because that's really all we're getting, just in variations. So, getting into television, they have several new comic book shows coming to, or yeah, in TV in 2017, 2018. So you get Marvel's The Defenders, which are all of the Netflix Marvel shows. They're basic Avengers of lower magnitude. The Gifted, which is supposed to be on Fox, which is going to be, in a sense, like an X-Men type of universe, or a somewhere, it's hard to read, but it's going to be something in Marvel's cinematic universe. Almost X-Men-y. I'm not quite sure, but it's not something I'm going to really tune into anyway. Marvel's The Inhumans, which again ties in with like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Then you've got The Punisher on Netflix, Marvel's The Runaways on Hulu in 2018, Black Lightning on the CW, which is more interesting to me than anything I've read so far. Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, again, something I don't really care. Titans, don't really care, but it's going to be on DC's new Untitled streaming service, which I'll check it out on that account alone, especially if it's going to have Nightwing. Then there's Marvel's New Warriors and Krypton, which is supposed to come on Sci-Fi. As you can see, I'm not much of a Marvel fanboy. I'm more of a DC. So, like, if it's DC related, I'm going to pan in that direction. I don't really spend much time watching a lot of that stuff anymore, but like some shows still grab me a little bit, and I'll check them out for a little while, and then I'll kind of let them go. But Krypton is supposed to be set 2 generations before the destruction of Krypton, and it's going to follow Superman's grandfather, the House of El, and he's going to fight to redeem his family's honor and save his beloved world from chaos. And so it's going to have Seg-El, and then Lita Zod, and Val-El, and various characters, you know, Zods and Els and Vex and people like that. So I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be about. It's apparently there was a pilot ordered sometime last year, and it's going to be between 10 and 13 episodes. The interesting thing about this whole thing is that there was a trailer leaked sometime in the end of April, and it was taken down shortly thereafter because a network spokesperson saying that neither Sci-Fi or Warner Brothers intended for it to be made publicly available. And it's not, it wasn't greenlit at that time, but it's pretty much greenlit. I think it would be interesting if I could see the trailer for it to see if it's even something I would care. But I would have to get my hands on it, and I don't even know how that would be possible, especially when there's really no way to find it anymore, if you catch my drift, with all the copyright claims out there. So, getting into some of the listener feedback from the last episode, I mentioned again the thing about some of the shows coming out, and King of Con says, not really a fall show, I think, but Black Lightning looks great. Super happy it will make up for the loss of Flash during the summer, so that makes me happy. Which, again, that's something I'm looking forward to just because it will be an interesting show to tackle. And being in that universe, so. Gotham has gotten interesting with everybody getting the basically, in a sense, hate plague from Transformers is my only recourse for saying what it is. And they're like Catwoman's having her evolution, the Riddler, the Penguin, like everybody's had their evolution. The only one still yet to go through it is Bruce Wayne, who's going to be meeting with Ra's al Ghul soon, and he wants the Batman costume from the Court of Owls storyline if he's going to play the have the costume picked. That's the one that he likes the best. Can't remember David Muzows. I don't even know if I'm butchering that name or not. He says he really likes the Ben Affleck Batmobile. So that would be interesting to see on there. I doubt we're ever going to see that until like a couple years down the road, him actually wear the bat suit. In that case, too, it will be the pre... I'm having a feeling it's going to be the one with the gloves, the purple gloves and all that from the New 52 if we're going to see it, I think. So yeah, they've already got the Mad Hatter, they got Poison Ivy, they got the Riddler, they got the Penguin, they got, Mr. Freeze, the Court of Owls. They've got, pretty much every villain is in the show now, other than having the hero Batman, which they're grooming him for now. So should be interesting. On Supernatural, they did this on all the CW shows. They pretty much killed off at least one key character from every show, or one version of them, and those people will not be returning as either series regulars in the next season, or when in the case of superhero shows, they'll be doing a different order. Like Supernatural, they killed Crowley in the season finale, and he's not returning. He's done. Basically, his character sacrificed himself to seal Lucifer on the other side of this alternate dimension type of thing. And then they had Castiel get blown away too, which he'll be back. And so they've managed to kill at least one character in every show, or they haven't shown who they've killed off yet. And they're teasing other stuff pertaining to The Flash. People are wondering if they're going to have a city of speedsters in Season 4 and have Barry Allen be the kind of mentor to them all, with the way the Flash lightning bolts came down in the season finale of The Flash, which I've really enjoyed, and I liked how they kind of wrapped it up. There's not really much else in the TV world other than the movie world. Apparently there is a Jetsons movie again. They've been talking about this on and off again for years, and they're saying that the movie nabs the Sausage Party director, which I'm not thrilled about, because I really don't want I don't want any of that garbage in the Jetsons movie, so I'm hoping that it's not, because Sausage Party was rated R. I know it's not going to be in that. I hope that there's no jokes from it, carryover type of stuff. I didn't even watch it because it's rated R. I just didn't care about it. So yeah, it's supposed to get a little bit of a new modern take, apparently, like everything else does. But Warner Brothers has been dying to adapt the show for the silver screen since the late 90s, when they made their live action versions of the Flintstones and then Viva Rock Vegas. And yeah, they're going to keep it on the animation track because of the fact that they can't seem to figure out how to do a live action one, which I honestly would like to see them try with today's technology. There's no reason why they couldn't do it. But I'm wondering what they're going to do with this, and I hope that they get some of the returning voice actors to play the characters instead of getting famous people to do it. I know that famous people are the draw for the money in the box office, but people that remember the Jetsons will actually go see it. And I've been wanting to see one. I just don't know if they're going to actually go for it. Hollywood can be a bit stupid at times. There's no reason why it's taken them this long to get another Jetsons in the moving here. So, but anyways, that kind of wraps up a lot of the content I had for this week. I have some topic stuff planned coming up. I'm just not quite sure what topics. And I do have my recording with Mike the Birdman Dodd coming on Friday. This is the Wednesday edition of the show. And the Friday edition will be a discussion. It will be with Birdman talking about the state of collecting in modern day and how it used to be as a kid. So it's going to be kind of a fun conversation to partake in, being that we've all been there to some degree. So I'm going to cut this episode short. I hope you guys have a great week. I will catch you on the next episode, and until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks, and please leave some iTunes feedback, or send an email. Just get a hold of me and drop some feedback. Good, bad, otherwise. Questions, suggestions, always open. So until next time, Steve Megatron signing out.